reviewing the final recommendation for the Assistant Town Administrator / Board of Selectmen Assistant / Finance Committee Assistant.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any questions, anything else you'd want to mention before we get started?
I just want to mention, we had 10 applicants for the position. We had done interviews with 5 of them. I felt that, say it was myself, Library Director Stephanie Young, and Town Clerk Ellen Glidden, that basically helped me screen through the candidates and do the interviews. And after all the interviews, we felt that Sandy was by far the best choice for this position, given her background in both administrative work, but also work within the community and her knowledge of the community, that she was a natural fit for this position. So, presenting it to you guys for approval, and hopefully that you guys feel that she's also a good fit.
Okay. Alrighty. Charlie, are there any questions you would like to start with?
Well, I just had a couple of quick comments and a question, and I don't know if it's a question or more as an observation, but one thing I think that we would like to see more, I would like to see, I'm not speaking for I'm speaking for myself, but I would like to see the board and the town have a little better control over issues and being a little more interactive on social media, particularly with the print media, so that we generate some releases every so often, and I would think that that would be something that you would bring to the table, and if you wanted to comment on that, even though I kind of told you the answer before we've started.
Maybe you could expand upon what he's saying and from your perspective what that means.
When you're talking about social media, you're talking about like Facebook and
Yeah, Facebook and also generating an occasional newspaper article, so especially at this time of year, there isn't that much to go in the papers, and
oh, okay.
help us prepare something, maybe a road we're gonna rebuild, or not just the selectman's office, but the town departments in general.
Something like a press release you might want in the paper.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, something a little more controlling, and maybe a controversial issue where we could, state our side a little clearer or something after a meeting or something along those lines, I think sort of, I call it issues management, but when we have a real big issue that we're in a little better control than we've been in the past. I think that would help a lot of things.
For people who basically aren't at a meeting or watch the meeting, just to get something so they know what's going on from
Yeah,
week to week, or,
Exactly.
yeah, that,
okay.
Maybe work through that, see, what you can do to
Okay.
pass information on. You kind of understand a little bit of what they do once they receive the information, so maybe you kind of understand the pathway of how, not just giving, say, a subject matter for them to go write about, but kind of giving them, this is what we're looking to kind of present. And do you follow?
Yeah.
I do think that would be beneficial. That would be nice to see here and there, especially on bigger subject matters.
So that's something totally new that's never been done, that's what you're saying?
more or less, yeah, not totally new, but, what I'm thinking of is, like as you probably are aware, we appropriated a small amount of money for the rail trail program
Okay.
at the annual town meeting. And maybe when we actually make the expenditure, giving a heads up to some, you know, one of the Telegram reporters that has an interest in that sort of thing, and just let people know
Okay.
this is what we're doing with it, and it's not just going off onto your tax bill and into Never Never Land, you know, that sort of thing, so that we have an idea, you know, it's not a major league thing like that, but that's what I'm thinking of, you know, and what are we getting for this, and how's it benefit, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And it may work too as we get closer to other things where, you know, as a board and each individually, we all kind of have our own thoughts on certain ways to improve the town. I mean, eventually we get to a point as a board working with other committees or other towns, and we start approaching an agreement or we sign an agreement. Sometimes we could present how the board feels about that agreement and the benefits to the town and the benefits maybe to the other towns. Even with, we're about to get into this economic development type stuff with, Hardwick had a grant for an economic development planner or something like that, and we got one to get an economic development plan, or at least the first stage of it. And so, kinda as we hit certain milestones in that progress, we might see a reason to kinda put something out, kinda to tell everybody, hey, this is what Barry's doing, this is what they're doing, this is, so it's, again, maybe a little bit more of the positives we're trying to do to help. But it just, things like that I could see being kind of like what Charlie was saying, how we can, but that would just, I don't think it's gonna be a weekly thing, you know, it would just be here and there, we'd identify something and work with you and Andrew about, hey, we think, could you, and then maybe we go through some drafts and reviews or something.
Okay.
You know, so it wouldn't be like you do this and then if it blows up on us, we're like, it's your fault. I don't mean it that way. I don't know what Greg's thoughts are on the idea, but.
I think an occasional press release is certainly a fitting task for anyone in the admin office. I did have a concern here in these skills. You list something called typewriter? I mean, come on.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any anymore, for God's sakes?
And it asked words per minute, I'm like, oh my God.
And then when you have to do that on a typewriter before they were electric, I shouldn't go back that far away. That was hard to do. You couldn't be fast.
We said that this could be a tough interview.
It used to be, you know, you had to do 30 words per minute, now it's like,
What are they looking at, 80 now?
I would just say that,
Yeah.
For a fast typer?
we've had a lot of transition in town and a lot of, especially the whole board and a lot of department heads, things changing. I think for the better. People in general have said they didn't used to feel like there was a lot of transparency in the public office, so that would be the one thing I would say that was really important, is to keep things transparent. You know, unless something comes up to be protected in executive session, it shouldn't be. But things that go to the newspaper obviously need to be cleared through Andrew or the board before
Right,
that
I would-
happens. But overall, that's the one thing I hear from people regardless all the time is transparency, transparency, transparency. That being said, you know, I think people generally have a lot of good people working for this town. They're good natured, they're good people, they're friendly people. A couple of years ago, a lot of them were very sort of reclusive. They kept to themselves. They didn't want to speak about things. Just the way there's a lot of animosity between departments, which has all seemed to have gone away, and people are working together very nicely. And I'm just hoping that that'll be fostered and continue. Anybody that has concerns should be able to bring them up without, you know, fear of retribution, being fired for something. If someone needs help with something, we need to help them with it. We just need to know what it is. And we're trying to work to make sure people realize they can ask that. You know, I don't think there's gonna be any surprises for you. I trust in Andrew's decision, so I'm happy to see you here.
Hey, Claire,
Looking forward to it.
you almost missed all of it, but we'll hold on a little longer, there's a couple more questions. Kind of in line with what he was saying, I think, maintaining and even improving, because we can always improve,
Yeah.
our various departmental as well as public relationships is gonna be real critical. And that means knowing how to work with people. Some people are, you know, you need a different approach sometimes for different people. And the goal here is to get the best outcome.
Yeah.
So, making sure that your job doesn't become a personal issue will be very critical. As long as that doesn't happen, generally, you can always find a way to get over some obstacles, work through some issues, and move forward. That's my opinion.
Usually through good personal relationships, though.
Well, right,
I know,
but
but I understand what you're saying. You don't wanna let the personal side affect
Yeah.
the decisions and judgment,
Right.
but
Disagreements
So-
shouldn't become a personal issue
Right.
that keeps you apart.
these friends disowning each other on Facebook over the presidential choices is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, but that's the kind of separation.
So that is definitely something I agree with. Obviously, you'll be playing a role with the finance committee, supporting Andrew. You'll be playing a role for the board of selectmen as an assistant with meeting minutes, getting those drafted so we can kind of review them. We have been working with Andrew and Faye previously, in that process. I think Faye did a good job digging out of the whole of a lot of ones that had been even multiple years back, hadn't been drafted, reviewed, and approved. I don't know exactly where we stand on that list, but I think most of them are caught up, so we're only maybe got a few here and there that need to be caught up still. But generally, in my opinion, the goal here is if you have a meeting, I'd like to see the draft of the meeting minutes to the board within a week of the meeting. Because usually we have meetings every 2 weeks, so if we see the draft in a week, we have a chance to review, comment, things like that, and hopefully by the next meeting, the meeting minutes are ready for us to just approve. And then that doesn't become a lagging issue, and it doesn't build up, and meeting minutes are critical for the public too, because until those are written, they don't always have access to YouTube or the video, or if it happens to be a meeting where it wasn't videoed for whatever reason, that's where they can go to
Right.
to say, well, what happened at that meeting? Well, you go to the meeting minutes. But if you're looking for something that happened 2 weeks ago or a month ago and it's not there, by the time you do get them, it's so far back, it's hard to stay current with what's going on. And I think, to me, that's important. And if I'm correct, the website's set up so that as they get drafted and approved, they can be loaded right to the My Town government for access from general public. So they can just go there and download it. And they have it as they need it when they want it. In my opinion, the Board of Selectmen in our office should kind of be the leader in that. In other words, we should be the role model in getting those meeting minutes drafted, reviewed, approved in a timely manner. And that way, if we have, because we have a lot of subcommittees that, obviously because they're smaller, maybe they meet once a month, some don't even meet that often. But some of their meetings minutes can never show up on that. It doesn't mean they don't get submitted to someone, but they don't get to us. And so until we can really get our house in order, we need to do that before we go to some other committees and say, hey, let's see what we can do, because that's back to the transparency. The longer you drag out meeting minutes, sometimes the longer someone thinks you're hiding it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I just wanted to bring that up. To me, that's important. And again, I'm not necessarily speaking for the board, just as a member of the board. I find that important. Timely responses to requests. You aren't always going to have the answer, but what I do appreciate is at least identifying that a request was made. Let me look for the answer. I'll try to get to you as soon as I can, something like that. Rather than waiting what could be a week or two before you respond because you hadn't had the answer yet. Sometimes it's, hey, let me look at it. I don't know how long it'll take for me to find it, but I'll get back to you. These are just things I think help keep everybody on the page, and especially for me, maybe Greg too, I'm not sure, because I don't know how often he has a chance to get into the office, because obviously we don't walk the same path because we can't, or it doesn't look right. I know Charlie has more opportunity and does show up in the office more, but a lot of the stuff with me between meetings ends up being remote. And then once in a while, I'll check in and try to have a meeting with Andrew or you or both of you, depending on the subject matter, but a lot of times it's a phone call or an email, say, hey, what's up this, or could you get me this, and what do we, and so that's where I'm just suggesting that timely response at least lets me know that, oh, they weren't ignoring it. They just couldn't get to it yet. So, I think those are the things that I would think would be important. I know that there's gonna be a lot to learn because every job has its own special software, its own this, its own that. Based on the few times I've talked to you and different things I've learned about you and of course your resume, I got a feeling that you're able to learn things. It's not gonna be overly too much. I mean, I'm not gonna say, I think I'm gonna be saying, yes, I would like to appoint you. I don't have any question on that right now. It's really just about staying with it, staying on top of it, doing the job, being professional. And, I think it'll will just work itself out if you can maintain some of those basic parts of the job. Does anybody else have something they'd like to speak to, or?
Just utmost respect for the public.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what they say, I think it's really critical.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that the customer's always right, but they always deserve your respect to listen. A lot of times, what you're gonna have to do is calm them down, or let them know that there is a path to reach their goal, but the approach they're taking might not be the right one. Nobody calling the office really wants to hear the word no. So in my mind, it's really get to know the systems you're talking about, the policies, the procedures. That will take some time. But if you do, you usually can find a way not to have to say no. A lot of times you can say, well, this is how you would have to go about it if you want to accomplish that. It doesn't mean that there won't be times you gotta say no. I mean, they might be asking you to do something that's completely illegal and they don't even realize it. But sometimes that's how it's gonna be presented. It's not me saying no, there's a law against it, I can't share such and such an information, or I will share it once I can get the approval from Andrew or the Board of Selectmen if that's, so a lot of times it's more like that, is rather than you saying no, remember that you can play more you're the messenger, you're not the decision maker. So if you think the answer is no, maybe it might be easier to just say, let me follow up. I'm not sure there's a way to do what you're asking, but let me check and I'll get back to you. And then when you get back to them and you say, well, the answer is no, at least they realize you truly were considering the request rather than just shutting the door. So I'm just suggesting that's, I think, very important, and it does help with the customer relation type concept. I do feel that anybody working for the town, whether elected, appointed, our job is to serve the town. So we've got to do our best so that the town knows that that's what we're trying to do and not the other way around. It's easy to get lost in thinking that the town serves us because we have certain goals or directions we want to go, and we're all susceptible to it. So we just got to keep ourselves in check. So that's my thoughts.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Sandra to the position of administrative assistant.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Do you have anything you want to ask?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I'm sure I'll have a lot of questions.
Right.
And I'm not gonna hesitate to ask.
Oh, that's good. All right, I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So
Welcome aboard.
unanimous. Thank you very much, Sandy.
Thank
Welcome
you.
aboard.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Look forward to this. I think it'll go very well.
And we have to negotiate a salary, or how do we?
It's a
The
classification
it's already
plan.
been set as far as the salary schedule, so that's, the starting rate of $15.79 per hour on the, salary wage scale, what we were looking at. But overall review of it,
Okay.
so,
Okay.
hoping.
Currently, that's what it is.
That's
And then
okay.
when
Currently,
we
that's what it is.
reevaluate, we'll see where it
So
lands.
what's the planned start date?
Planned start date is August 13th, it's beginning of.
Okay, so can we have a wage authorization for our August 6th meeting?
Yep,
Yeah, get that all in order.
yep, no
That
problem.
gives you a
Yeah.
couple weeks for that.
Yep, we discussed the.
August
trans-
14th.
August
Oh,
14th, I'm sorry.
14th, yeah.
Yep, sorry, the week of the 13th.
The week of the 13th.
You'll be starting the Tuesday.
I'm just checking that we'll get the
Okay.
authorization done. We do have a meeting week before, so we'll have the wage authorization done
Yeah.
prior, which will be good.
Yeah, and then everything's just in
Yeah.
order.
Your payroll doesn't hang up, that's no
Yeah,
fun.
that's the, the 13th is the beginning of the payroll period, so
That's
she
why
worked
you
out
said-
some
Yeah.
vacation issues, so that's why she'll be starting on a Tuesday.
Oh, okay, all right, perfect.
Okay, very good.
Well, thank you much.
Well, thank you.
And
Thank you.
enjoy.
Thank you for coming in. Enjoy your 2 weeks of either intense work or freedom. I don't know what you got.
Exactly.
Claire's here, one in the
It's usually
finance
both,
committee.
isn't it? So, do you have anything else you wanted to bring up since we currently are in a meeting? Public comment type
Yeah.
stuff. Okay.
I had emailed Andrew about the transfers.
Just got them yesterday, I
Yeah.
had emailed them to the board, and when I got back on Monday, since I'm still technically on leave, I'll be sending them out to everybody and scheduling a meeting with you guys, so.
So,
Anything else? Andrew, anybody before we do it? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right.
Okay.
aye. Have a great one.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Sweet,
Dinner.
look at